What time is it? It's time for another Every Other Wednesday.
Everybody's noticing that Jeff is back. See, Jeff, I told you, people notice you're gone.
See,
I am
I was
back.
going to
Thank
suggest
you.
me saying, Eminem, guess who's back? Back
Yeah.
again. Jeff is
Oh,
back.
four of us.
Well,
I
thanks a
don't know
lot,
what-
Rob. I missed the last two. I'm back too, but no, nothing. Doesn't even notice.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, but Jeff, to be
Yeah.
fair, Jeff has missed more than the last two.
That's it. I'm
That's true.
out of here.
Don't go away, Mike.
Look at
Don't
that,
go away.
promotion.
You're so much better. And Jeff, by the way, you have a new picture. Like when
I-
you're not on camera, a new picture. Put that. It was pretty snazzy.
I
Show
do
it.
have a new picture, and what's so exciting about that picture is that that is all AI produced.
I was going to say that looks very AI to me. Yeah, that's
It
great.
is. And they gave me 40 choices, and
40?
20 of them had me about 35 pounds lighter. I should have chosen those.
So I have a question. Does that picture looks like me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a little more color in your cheeks usually, but
It's
yeah.
25 years old, that picture.
Is it really? Well, at which point you were also 25 years old. Yes.
There you go.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, folks, this is fun. Hey, Carol, thank you. She's apologizing to the Canadians just in general.
Do we have any
Great.
questions
Wait a
for the
second, I want
audience?
to clarify. Carol,
Yeah,
are
we
you
do.
apologizing for past actions or for future actions? Because 4 o'clock's about to roll around, 4 o'clock Eastern. In 3 hours, we get the Liberation
The
Day
news.
announcements.
Oh boy. Okay. Let's move on to something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've never gotten political.
Yeah, we haven't. So welcome everyone to Every Other Wednesday. What day is today, Mike?
It is, oh yeah, thank you, Richard, April 2nd, 2025.
Very good. Good to see everybody here. My name is Richard Haddon, and I'm a writer and speaker and consultant and all those good things. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. That's where I am today. We're having a pollen storm here in Jacksonville, and delighted to be here. Mike.
I am Michael Kerr. I'm an executive coach, trainer, writer, and speaker on workplace culture. My last book is Small Moments, Big Outcomes, How Leaders Create Cultures That Fuel Extraordinary Results. And today is, because I know you're wondering, and I'm coming from Canmore, by the way.
Day.
We don't have a
Autism
pollen
Day.
storm, we have a snowstorm. It's International Children's Book Day, Love Your Produce Manager Day. So if you buy some vegetables, give your produce manager a hug. Ferret Day. Hey, Sanjay. World Autism, I don't know why Sanjay popped into my head at that one. World Autism Day, Reconciliation Day, and Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. So welcome, everyone.
Interesting. Autism Day. I don't know why, but I had like 4 people wish me happy Autism Day today, which is
And
weird.
you don't know why?
I have no idea why. That's
Okay.
kind of weird. My name is Sanjay. I am a speaker and author, and I speak on stages usually on the topics of leadership and performance. Here all week, try the veal. Yeah, I have been doing this for a long time now, a little over 30 years, and like to get together with these yahoos every other Wednesday and talk about organizational culture issues and trying to bring it pragmatic and fun and interactive. And we want to say thank you for you folks for joining us. Mr. Jeff.
Absolutely. We are in a weird mood today. I just feel it. And by the way, Yvette, if you just asked Mike for a book, he would have been glad to give it to you, probably. But thank you for supporting him.
Jeff.
Don't need,
But I'm
don't
Jeff-
need the book.
Let Jeff
I'm
talk.
I'm Jeff Tobe. Even though I got a call this morning from London, Ontario, and they called me Jeff Tobe, and I said we. It didn't work. I couldn't speak the rest of the language. But anyway, I am in beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where we have no pollen and no snow yet. I speak on customer experience, how to make the leap from customer service to customer experience, and I am excited to be back.
And
We're
we're
excited to have you back.
Thank you. Yeah. Hey,
We're
Mike,
even more
you said
excited to
something-
have your friend.
Mike, you said something a minute ago when you held up your book. You said, "This is my last book." So does that mean you're getting out of writing?
No, my latest book.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you were telling
His last
the
book.
last book. Yeah.
My
okay.
last book I wrote.
Yeah. So we do have a question for the chat, but we're going to introduce it at this point because it feeds directly into the topic for today, and that is, what is one of your pet peeves about meetings? And I bet we can get a lot of chat generated about that. So if you will, just kind of put in some of your pet peeve. Having them would be good. Jeff is just really
I
in that
started
mood
typing
today,
early.
having meetings. But there's always got to be some ways of thinking about what goes wrong in meetings, what just makes you crazy about meetings. I want to talk about maybe some things that you can do so that you are not the person that everybody talks about negatively after the meeting.
And Mike, I think you're talking about every other Wednesday, not this Wednesday.
That other one, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so here's some. I knew we would have some immediately being a hostage without the opportunity to participate. That's why
right.
we get you guys involved in this. We don't want any hostages out there. Stephen says getting off the agenda and not being brought back to it. So whose responsibility is it to bring you back to? I mean, I'm just impressed that there's an agenda in this imaginary meeting that Stephen is talking about, because as we all know, there should be an agenda, but many times there's not. But it sounds like there's someone who should be responsible for bringing the meeting back to the agenda if it gets off. Who do we think that is?
I think every meeting has a leader. Somebody called the meeting, unless it's an administrator who's been asked to call the meeting.
Yeah.
But it should be very clear who the leader is, and if it's not, then
But
then
I
you get
also
in trouble.
think there's a personal responsibility too, especially too, if that's your pet peeve, then you should at least make an attempt to try to do it. If the leader is not doing it, I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, hey, I think we're getting a bit off topic here. How about we get back to this? We can park that for later. We
Right.
can discuss that at the end, at the water cooler, etc. So I think it should be the leader's role. However, if the leader's neglecting to do his or her duties, then step up.
Yep, I agree. Yep. So there's a great while we're rattling on here, just give us some more of your ideas. Brian says, if this could have been an email, there've been a lot of meetings that could have been done by email or maybe not even at all. Does it have an agenda, a clear purpose and an outcome? Is there a reason for the meeting other than just getting together? There is a video that I like to watch. It's and I like to show sometimes if I'm doing a longer training session. It's old. It's really old. It's almost as old as Sanjay. It's about 40 years old, and it's called Brain Power. Has anybody ever seen it? Anyway, it's absolutely fabulous. It is based on a book called Brain Power by Carl Albrecht. Came out in the early 1980s, but the film is done by the late Shakespearean actor John Houseman, who played Professor Kingsfield in The Paper Chase, both on TV and in the movie. And he's sitting there and he's kind of reading at this book, and he stands up in this set that's like what it was on the movie, and he talks to the group, to whoever's watching, about using our minds probably in meetings. And one of my favorite lines is near the beginning, and he's reading from the book. He says, Carl Albrecht says that that human beings, intelligent human beings, when assembled in an organization, tend toward what he calls collective stupidity. And he says it with this great Shakespearean accent. And, he says, and this is good for showing in a meeting. And he says, you're obviously assembled, you're in an organization, you're at a meeting. Is this meeting going to be an example of collective stupidity, or is it going to be what it should be, a collective group of minds at work? And then he encourages the audience to think about some other things in meetings. One of the examples that he uses is there may be things that you think you have heard before, but have you? So give it a different look, give it another look and really give it some concentrated, be more discerning with it. The other thing he says is you may fail to see something that is there and just not see it. And he talks about the need to kind of be uncomfortable with a little bit of ambiguity in certain situations and how to handle that ambiguity, how to make things clearer. But it's a great video. It's probably completely out of print. I don't even know if you could get it on YouTube, but it's great.
I'm
It's
sure
called
it's on YouTube
Brain
somewhere.
Power. Did you look it up?
I'm sure there are clips somewhere.
I'm sure there are.
Probably. I want to give Richard a shout out for how you delivered that line. But have you? And you leaned in.
But have you?
You delivered it with a certain amount of gravitas.
Oh, thank you. I've been told I'm quite heavy.
You're very welcome. So back to the question of who owns the agenda. I love what DBS Banks does. I write about this in my last book, where they have this.
Sorry,
The
Is that you're done writing when you
the
say your
latest
last
book?
book?
The
Is it-
latest book.
That joke has already been trotted out.
I know.
Sorry.
The one that Yvette bought.
Yes, DBS
Okay.
Banks. They talk about making sure you have Mojo in your meetings. And Mojo is an acronym for MO, stands for meeting owner. So somebody has to be the owner of the meeting. So they're responsible for the agenda, for making sure the people who need to be there, and only the people who need to be there, are present at the meeting, that everyone has the tools, the materials they need to have an effective meeting, and that it is conducted in a very effective, efficient, and maybe fun way. The JO part of Mojo stands for Joyful Observer. And this is another person in the meeting whose job it is to observe the meeting, to also keep it on track as the joyful observer. And I like the framing of that, right? As opposed to the skeptical cynic. It's the joyful observer, so it's positive. But here's what they do that just cracks me up, is they have an app where you can rate their meetings, and they ask, just like Jeff would know this with your customer experience stuff, they ask this question: would you rate this meeting to another colleague, or would you recommend this meeting to another colleague? Which I love, right? That's a great question.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, how would you
that.
rate this meeting?
I think that's great. I think everybody should do that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, certainly introduce an element of fun into it. I mean, probably nobody wants to be at the meeting anyway, so let's make it as positive as possible.
But fun aside, let's go back to Mojo for a second, because I think that's brilliant. I
Yeah,
think to have an observer of any kind, you know, rather if it's joyful or not, I think it gives some or provides the leader with some sense of vulnerability, keep them on their toes, right? That I am being criticized, even if it, or not criticized, but evaluated, even if it is by an app and not an observer. But I think that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing.
When over the years, when I've worked with people on presentation training, that's one of the things I've always suggested is, if you want to get better at being able to present, you want to have, and I didn't use the term joyful observer, but I would say that you want to have friendly eyes in the audience. If it's a peer who can give you honest feedback, if something worked or something sucked, that they be able to have that conversation with you, but also that the relationship has to be one that you have that ability. You know, if someone who despises me comes and tells me how much I suck, that's a little different than someone who I respect and I ask them for their opinion if they tell me how much I suck. So it's a matter of that idea of having that third person who can evaluate you or give you that feedback. I think is so fundamentally important. It's a coach, is what it is. Is when you're playing a sport, the coach says, "Hey, you're doing this too much. You're not doing this enough." It's the same idea, because a meeting is a practice skill.
Well,
Let me ask a question of our brilliant audience. I'm sorry, Mike, I cut you off. Too bad.
Tell us what you really think.
Yes or no, if you've ever been in Toastmasters. And I've never asked you guys. Have you ever been in Toastmasters? Any of you? I know we kind of.
No, I have tremendous respect for it.
I have. I've eaten toast, and I've never been to the Masters. But
sometimes as speakers tend to turn their nose up at Toastmasters. And one of the brilliant parts I think about Toastmasters is that they have an evaluation piece that is a vital piece of their meeting. So you don't just give a speech; you have somebody who actually evaluates it. And I think that's what we're talking about. Is, you know, either in a formal process or at least in an informal process, asking somebody to evaluate, you know, your role in the meeting.
I think
so Jeff,
that evaluation be a useful evaluation, not an evaluation for the sake of having an evaluation. And we go back to Toastmasters, whereas I think there's lots of wonderful things within that organization. However, I've also know of professional speakers who had been evaluated by a Toastmaster, not being asked, but they showed up and said, "You said 33 ums and 2 buts and whatever." And it's like, okay, however, is that relevant? Did my message get across? Right? You know what I'm saying? So the evaluation is important as long as it's an evaluation that you want. And I see 2 hands up.
Yes, the first one is Mike, and the second one is mine. Mike, go ahead.
Thank you.
When we start
Okay,
doing this-
I want to get back to meetings, but since Sanjay brought up Toastmasters, I was the opening keynote speaker at a huge Toastmasters conference a gazillion years ago, and my opening line was, "Put away your score sheets right now, because you're going to score me like -40 because I'm going to break every rule that you have."
Well, I think there's a lesson there. Sometimes we can break the rules in those kinds of meetings and in other kinds of meetings,
yeah.
as long as the objective is there.
Yeah. So I want to bring this back to Jeff and Sanjay's point, back to meetings, is because meetings are such a critical touch point in our organizations. I'm a huge believer, I say this all the time, your meetings should help build your culture because they're a key touch point, and they should reflect your desired culture. So if people are dreading, as you alluded to earlier, Richard, going to your meetings, I want to suggest you're doing them wrong. We should be looking forward to meetings. They should be fun and engaging and creative and collaborative. They should be these great conversations. What we need to do, though, back to this point of feedback that we rarely do, I think, in organizations, is take a time out. We're so busy meeting that we never step back from our meetings to talk about, hey, let's just talk about how we're meeting. How effective are our meetings? What could we be doing better? What do we need to stop doing? What do we need to start doing? What do we need to change? And to be intentional about everybody contributing feedback to how your meetings are run so that you are constantly improving your meetings. So I think we need to carve out time to intentionally work on our meetings.
And it doesn't need to be personal. It doesn't need to be saying, well, Mike always does this and does that. It's just about, here's some things that we can do to make our meeting better. I want to go back to the mojo. Okay. Now, does this person participate in the meeting substantively? Do they, do they inject content into the meeting, or are they simply there as a fly upon the wall to take notes and give feedback?
No, they participate as well.
Okay.
So they're not
as
just,
well. All right.
And so does their name actually have to be Joe?
That would be helpful.
Or Mo, or Larry, or Charlie.
Yeah, Maureen and Joe. If it could be Maureen or Mo.
Must be named Mo and the joyful observer.
Maureen and Josephine. Hey,
now you
long
all know
about
why
8 minutes ago.
Now you all know
why you've been gone so much. 8 minutes ago.
Wait,
What do you want to say, Jeff?
now you all know why I haven't been around for a while.
Right. So 8 minutes ago, our friend Rob said one of his pet peeves is an arbitrary time frame. I am with you on that. I'll tell you what, once the outcome is achieved, why do we need to hang around, drag it on forever and ever just to take up the allotted time? Unless, and I know this would never be Rob, but unless somebody just would rather sit in that meeting rather than actually get back and do work. But that's probably not really what we're talking about. Jeff?
It brings up a good point, and maybe I'm going on a tangent, but
if so, we as the meeting moderators will bring us back.
Would you let me know, please?
Yeah.
I'm finding that virtual meetings have shorter time spans, and nobody's discussed how long they should take. So, you got 30 minutes for 50 minutes of content. Either they rush through, or they get to the end and they say, well, we're going to have another meeting because we didn't finish what we needed. Well, whose fault is that? That again goes to the owner of the meeting, I think.
Well, Jeff, you were not with us 2 weeks ago when we were here with Lauren. And how did Lauren tell us she pronounces her last name?
Sergey.
Sergey. And what? And I mean, she talked a lot about online meetings, and I had some questions too. And I don't want to go back over what she talked about, but the time frame on it. And then I wonder if some of the things that we talk about in terms of having good in-person meetings, to what degree are they different for a virtual meeting?
And again, I think that we've talked about this lots about in-person versus virtual. I don't think anything changes from in-person to virtual. Conceptually, the core foundation of what you're trying to do is still the same. It just manifests itself differently. It's about connection, but how you connect in person, you can sneeze on your neighbor, whereas it's harder to do that virtually. So I think you're still trying to do the same things. It's just you're limited in how you can do it, but same core concepts are there. Get the information disseminated, do it in a fun and engaging way, have people feel valued and respected. All those elements are still there, but again, how you do it in person, you might be able to throw party hats and have cake, whereas online, you may either have to send gift cards or, I mean, there was a meeting I was part of once and everyone got a package mailed to them so that we could all do the same, eat at the same time. Open up, here's the birthday cake, let's go.
Carol has a good story right there.
I love it. Carol always does.
It's not only a funny story, but it brings up exactly the point you're saying, Sanjay. The guy winked at her. Well, I can't wink at only one of you right now. So
Right,
so
yeah.
It was for me. It was for me. I know it was for me.
I'm winking
So
right now at
there are-
everybody, all the participants joining us.
yeah, there are
Yeah.
nuances,
Yeah.
little nuances of body language, especially that
Yeah.
you do not get in a virtual meeting. So, Carol, thank you for the story, but also
was
thank
great.
you for making a point.
Yeah.
The only thing one of the things I would comment on the difference between in-person and virtual is, to me, when you're having a virtual meeting, you just have to be extra uber intentional.
Yeah,
on
extra
those
everything.
basics, right? Extra everything. So
Yeah.
extra effort to make sure everyone feels included and taking the time to make sure everybody does have the opportunity to speak up, because sometimes you're not seeing everyone's faces at once. You're not as present as you are in person, obviously. So just being really intentional about the basics.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
look
love what
at
Brian says.
Yeah, this is great.
Have stand-up meetings. I remember years ago when I did have a staff, we changed our meetings up every week. We had a regular standing meeting, a cadence of meetings. They weren't standing. Sometimes we stood. And one time I said to them, I want you to move your chairs back and sit on the floor. And we actually had the meeting under the table. And I swear to you, it was one of the most creative meetings we've ever had. So I'm a huge proponent of just changing the environment somehow, whatever that means.
Yeah, that's true. There's something about a stand-up meeting too that it says to me this is not really a meeting. In fact, when I'm talking with people about holding huddles, I say, a huddle should be no more than 5 or 10 minutes, and it's very quick, and a lot of, very intense, very clear objectives. And I said, one of the big parts of that is to have everybody who can to stand, because sitting down sounds like a meeting to me. Standing up, we know we're not going to be here very long.
And I think it goes faster automatically. In fact,
absolutely,
two ideas with the standing up that I love. I have a few clients who do stand-up, alternating stand-up, sit-down meetings. So every other agenda item, they stand up. And they say it's just a way to change the energy, and it just feels a little different. And then the other idea that I love is when a meeting is supposed to end, say it's supposed to be a 45-minute meeting, but it's gotten to the 45-minute mark and there's still a couple of pressing points, they stand up for the remaining time.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
Encourages people to speed her up just a little bit.
I like that.
Language becomes so important too, because again, if it's a meeting, it's one thing. If you call it a huddle, if you call it a gathering, you call it a coffee break, like the language around it gives people a perception or a connotation of what they are going to expect. When I first heard about stand-up meetings, which was probably in the mid 90s, I remember reading a stat that said CNN used to do stand-up meetings and their average meeting lasted 12 minutes. So, and we know, if it's a little uncomfortable, people will be more task-oriented so they can get back to being more comfortable.
I belonged to an association of stand-up comedians years ago, and
do they have stand-up meetings?
Stand-up. They were all stand-up.
Okay.
See now, why aren't there sit-down comedians? I mean, they do. Some of them sit.
Yeah. And we can always count on Carol to bring up relevant points. And one is, when you're standing, it makes it hard to keep notes. And that's true. But maybe there could be a note person who sits so that they can do that. But that brings up another issue, and that is, I think it's important to keep records, to keep minutes of the meetings, and certainly depending on what kind of meeting it is. But have you noticed how AI is able to summarize and encapsulate meetings, probably just like the one we're having now? Have you taken a look at any of the output from any of those AI summarizations of meetings? What is our audience's experience with that?
AI, you mean in virtual meetings?
Virtual meetings.
In virtual meetings, yes.
You can record it in a real meeting. You can audio record it.
You can do it in a real meeting as well. Yeah. So I was in a meeting just last week, virtual meeting, and I got the thing afterward. Okay, this is the AI, blah blah blah, and I looked at the thing. I was astounded at how nuanced and accurate it was. And now I would certainly issue the caveat that you have to read through the whole thing and say, yeah, is that really what happened? And make corrections and changes. But in this particular case, I was really so. In fact, I had taken notes. This was a client meeting. I was meeting with a client about some details of a presentation, and I was feverishly writing all this stuff down as well as recording it because I wanted to make sure I got every detail. When I got back, I was able to erase my page that I had written it down on because when I looked at the AI, they had everything so well done.
Yvette doesn't agree with you. She says it rarely adheres that it rarely does it hear everything just right.
But you know that all this AI stuff, what I find is it's good for a first draft. It does a lot of the legwork for you. It does need to be refined and cleaned up. So if they're doing it like Richard said, you read through and go, hold on, that wasn't right, or that let me nuance that a bit. But it's a heck of a lot quicker and more efficient than you sitting taking notes throughout the whole thing.
Well, and it's less likely to leave certain things out. Like I said, I was very much, I mean, yeah, AI has its place, definitely. But in this particular case, and it was Zoom. It was a Zoom AI. I was really astonished at how advanced it had become.
I've read through a few, and I've always laughed because there's always been.
I know that's what I was expecting to find. that crazy
funny things because it pulls out these things very seriously because it's AI. So if there's just a side casual comment or something, it will pick up that, of course, and treat it with this great
utmost
seriousness.
gravity.
Like one of my tasks on one of the meetings was Michael to investigate best places for a burger in Calgary.
What? I have an idea. I think what I'm going to do is, this is obviously all our episodes are recorded. I'm going to feed an episode into AI and ask it for an evaluation of the meeting just to see what it comes up with. Because
one. It would be ironic.
I think we would break it. We would break it.
But you know what? I think that we're going to task Michael with finding the best burger place in Calgary. I think that.
Hey, so I do have a pet peeve about meetings. This happens a lot, and this is like if there's like a large meeting, like maybe 8 or 10 people or more in it. Have you ever noticed there's always one person who just loves to hear themselves talk, and they're constantly just talking, whether it really has any relevance or not. And I wonder, number one, am I the only one among the 30 something of us here that has that as a pet peeve? And if so, what can you do about it without looking like a jerk? Because I look like a jerk enough anyway. I don't want to, exacerbate that. How do you not look like a jerk when somebody is just constantly, and maybe don't even raise their hands?
I think you have to have a one-on-one talk with that person
afterward,
outside of the meeting. Yeah, because if it's happening, more than once, then it's time for a difficult conversation, but it has to be addressed, and it has to. I mean, I talk about this with difficult conversations. It really has to be, when you do this, this is what I'm noticing, and then a question of what can we do to, so this is what I observe. This is the effect I'm noticing. What can we do? It's a simple but not easy.
It's not fun. It's not easy.
What Jeff's doing there too is he's not making it personal. He's sticking very much to the facts. And that's what you want to do. The other thing though too is depends on the severity of it, right? Because sometimes if someone's new and eager and keen, you can kind of role model, and you don't necessarily even have to have that conversation, and they can learn and internalize it. So if Jeff keeps speaking, then I can look to pull out. So Richard, what do you think? Michael, I would love your thoughts on it as well. Okay, thanks, Jeff. I would, I want to, so you can do more subtle things, but if it becomes an issue and it's repeated over and over again, then they must be addressed. And another thing is you can address it, but another way of doing it is you get that person's mentor, superior, someone they look up to, someone they have a good connection with, maybe even it's a peer, have that conversation with them as well. Hey, word on the street is you're doing this. You may want to consider this.
I think this is a group conversation though that goes back to your meeting norms. I think you remind people at the start of every meeting, hey, we want to have a good balanced conversation here, so we want to make sure everyone's voice is heard. You want to encourage the undertalkers who might be shy or introverted or insecure for whatever reason to speak up, and kind of tamper the over talkers. So you want to send that message.
Mhm.
And this, by the way, is not a trivial topic. There's all sorts of research
Right.
that
Yeah.
suggests this is one of the keys for smarter meetings, for smarter teams, is an equal distribution of voices around the table. So also looking at things, and some of these may sound cheesy, but doing things like having a talking stick, only make it fun. Have a talking banana, right? Where you pass the banana around, or having scorecards, or having, these little white signs that I use for where people can put up and you can have different symbols on them, different.
I really honestly thought that was a funeral fan.
A few.
A funeral fan. We have these in the South.
And then the other
have you seen what Fritz? Did you see what Fritz's comment was? And I mean, that's brilliant, but it's so simple. Fritz says, "I usually thank them for the contribution and tell them, hey, don't make Jeff do all the heavy lifting today." That's, I think, it's subtle. It gets the point across. It's not too offensive.
And
No, the
in
other
a fun,
thing-
in a fun way.
When
Yeah.
I was way back in my camp director days, and there was always a kid that would like to do that, take over the conversation, piggybacking on Fritz's point, I would pull him or her aside and say, hey, it's obvious to me you're one of the stronger leaders in this group. It would be really helpful if you help me bring out others as well. So if you're looking for opportunity, that way you're still giving them a task, because a lot of times people are speaking because they want to feel important and significant. So if you give them that in a different form, then maybe they won't monopolize the conversation, but they will now monopolize, direction. You speak.
That's exactly what Rob is saying here. I think kind of make the mojo, make that person the mojo, so that they have a role. Maybe say, listen, Sanjay, there's people who always monopolize the conversation. We want you to control that. Well, it's kind of hard to monopolize it if you're in charge of not having people monopolize it.
We will call it the cat herder.
Yes, we have done that. We've done that. There's
There's
another.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Richard. I was just going to say Sanjay raises a good point about leadership and not just the amount of time everyone is speaking and getting it as equal as possible, but also considering who is speaking and who is speaking last. If you are the leader at the table, the real leader, the manager, supervisor, boss, then it can be very important sometimes to speak last in conversations, so you're not swaying the opinion of folks. I know Pixar has this, and other companies as well have this anti-HIPPO meeting norm that they try to enforce. And HIPPO is this acronym for highest paid person in the room. So they have this anti-HIPPO policy to make sure that opinions, ideas don't defer to whoever the senior person is in the room. And I think that has to be created as a meeting norm as well.
Yeah,
Do
you can
have
always,
to
it's
share
always
what
easy.
you make? Wait, do you have to share what you make for a living? Wait, I think I'm hired. No, go ahead.
It's the group think thing, right? And then when people have such prestige, and especially if people are insecure or unsure of their opinion, they tend to follow that person. But remember though, he who laughs last probably doesn't get the joke.
Right. You mentioned groupthink, Sanjay. There's another great video that I have used in the past that teaches about groupthink. Are you familiar with the Road to Abilene?
No.
Oh, do you know it, Mike?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, Mike is saying it like, everybody knows the Road to Abilene. I'm wondering if any of our audiences have ever seen it. There was an older version and there was a newer version. I like the older version better than the newer version. But just in a nutshell, as much of a nutshell as I can make it, it's this group of people they're in rural Texas somewhere, and they're sitting out after dinner. They're on the front porch, and just two couples, kind of middle-aged couples, and they're like, all right, what are we going to do tonight? We played cards last night. There's nothing to watch on TV. And Mike is looking like this is not the same Abilene that I remember. And they're sitting around there saying, I don't know, what do we want to do? And somebody says, why don't we get in the car and drive to Abilene? Well, nobody in the group wants to go to Abilene.
I misheard you. That's why.
Okay.
Yes.
No, nobody in the group wants to go to Abilene, but they all say, okay, that sounds like a great idea. Let's go to Abilene. Do you want to go to Abilene? Oh, yeah, sure. I want to go to Abilene. And they're saying they want to go to Abilene because they think you want to go to Abilene. And Sanjay's going to say, okay, we'll do that because I don't want to offend Mike. And obviously he wants to go to Abilene. Anyway, they all pile in the car. They go to Abilene. The car breaks down. They run out of gas. They have a flat tire. They have a terrible time. It takes hours to get there, hours to get back. And they all get back and they say, none of us really wanted to go to Abilene. Why didn't we just say this honestly? And it really is a great lesson that they teach about how to, in a meeting, rather than just going along
to get
just-
along.
Yeah, let's don't do
Richard,
it.
Richard, thank you so much for your contribution. Sanjay and Mike, let's not make Richard do all the heavy lifting.
Heavy lifting.
So
I don't know about you guys. I've had enough of this. I'm going to Abilene.
I do have one other thing to lift.
of course.
So, you know,
Lift
at the
away,
end of
please.
meetings, so often at the end of meetings, someone will say, and they word it this way, so does anybody have any questions?
Right.
And there'll be silence, and somebody will be uncomfortable with the silence, and they'll say, yeah, and they'll ask a question, and they'll do and say, okay, thank you. Any other questions? And then somebody will ask a question. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? And it goes on and on and on forever. And I was in a meeting recently where the same thing was accomplished, but in a much more effective way. And they just said, we have 7 minutes left for meetings. What questions do we have? And while, you know, if you've got one, just jot it down, think about it, and we'll talk about it. If we don't have time, we'll get to it later, or you can email it to me. But that, man, then in 7 minutes, it was done.
Nice. Yeah, I think that that's one of the big things. I mean, the whole idea of behind a meeting is about communication, right? And when we can say things and not just hope, like, hey, we have 45 minutes for this meeting. I'd like to stay within the 45-minute time frame. We do this all the time. I think we're pretty good with our EOW. We start on time and we finish on time, you know, give or take. But we'll say that. We'll go, oh my goodness, the time is flying by. We have 10 minutes left. Or we got 3 minutes left. Any last thoughts? And I think it's important to give people the expectation. So something as simple as we have 7 minutes. Maybe we can get 3 questions done. Maybe we can get 2. Maybe it's one really long one. So keep that in mind. And even further, if there are too many questions, we'll follow up later. We'll get back to you. So people, again, feel included and heard.
Well, and on that note, Sanjay, I think it's good to do a kind of halfway check-in point, see where you're at with your agenda, because some people will be getting very stressed. They'll be looking at the time and they'll be going, oh my God, we've got these 4 items to get through. And so if you can take a little break at the halfway mark and make the call even and say, you know what, we're clearly not going to get to agenda item number 7. I don't want anyone to sweat it. We are going to talk about this. Here's when we're going to talk about this, but we're going to focus on these things in the remaining time we have, because that's all the time we have, and these are the priorities.
Yeah. I mean, it really is about discipline and being honest.
Yeah.
Let's be disciplined, let's be structured, and let's be honest about this meeting.
Yeah. And let's be flexible too, because we may say, hey, we want to get these 10 items done. We have an hour to do it. And you get in there and either extreme, you get them all done in 10 minutes. You don't have to drag the meeting on for another 50. Everyone go home, have a coffee, take a nap. Or you get through 2 items and you're at the 53-minute mark. You don't have to cram the last 7 in. You kind of go, okay, obviously these items took more because they were really important. So we're going to have to reschedule. And now people go, oh no, a meeting, another meeting. Yeah, but if you need the meeting, there's nothing wrong with meetings as long as you need the meeting. Meetings are great. They're a touch point. They communicate, they engage. If they're done properly, they're fun. The problem is either having ineffective meetings, bad meetings, or meetings when you don't need meetings.
Yeah. Yeah, no, bang on, Sanjay, totally.
Let me take it a little different direction. In my book, my first book, Mike, not my
Your last book.
Not your last one.
You know, I talk about this, and I talk about shattering the stereotype of the experience your people expect to have in meetings. So, Mike, you talk a lot about things you can do. Any experience, any that come to mind when I say, you know, shatter the stereotype? And I'll give you an example. It can be as simple as switching seats because people come into the meeting and sit in the exact same chairs, to literally, we've talked about this ad infinitum, and that is, you know, going on a field trip. So there are many things in between. Any observations of meetings you've seen where they shattered the stereotype?
Oh yeah. And
Jeff,
so
you should probably try not to speak Latin during our meetings, but anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
And ad infinitum? What's that?
Ad infinitum, go ahead.
Infinitum.
And it's so important to
Thanks for pointing that out, Richard. I am totally embarrassed. I think I'll do what Mike does.
You know, Richard, you don't have to do all the heavy lifting of insulting Jeff. We'll all take turns.
We'll all insult Jeff. Yeah, well, yes. And Jeff, to your point, I think I think meetings are a perfect place to add a lot of creativity and fun. We know ha plus ha equals aha. We know from studies, even in Scientific American, that the most effective meetings are those meetings that have lots of fun because people tend to feel psychologically more safe. They are more creative, more innovative. So doing some things to break up the energy. One of the things I love doing, and this ties back to Richard's comment about, groupthink and everyone agreeing, going along just to get along, is doing simple things like having scorecards where you rate how sold you are on this idea or how skeptical you are, having an actual devil's advocate that you assign in the meeting to purposely challenge any idea that is presented in a respectful, fun way. Getting people, and I love this because and I've done this in my workshops often, where you get people to vote, but by standing up and forming a line, so forming a bar graph line, essentially, based on how strongly they feel about something. So if you're all over this idea, you're down here at this end, you're a 10 out of 10. If you're really skeptical, and then it breaks up the energy. It's fun, people laugh, but then they also see you're kind of owning your idea, owning your opinion there. And then doing simple things like breaking, even if it's a small group, breaking the groups into little pods of 2 to 3 people so that the quieter voices have a say and then come back to the bigger table can be hugely effective.
That's what I like about virtual meetings, is that you can literally go into breakout rooms, right?
Yeah.
And I see that being done more and more in just regular meetings. Like, let's just take 4 minutes in a breakout and talk about this. So,
Establishing group norms for the meeting is really a simple thing to do, and people like it, and it can be really super effective. I remember years ago, I was hired by a government organization to be an MC for their meeting. And they said, this is actually what they were very candid with me. They said, look, our bosses speak too much and we can't tell them to shut up. That's why we need an external MC.
You can.
You have to keep them on time. And it's not an easy task. So what I did is I did a little preamble up front, and I got little signs that said 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. And I said up front, I said, hey, welcome, made them laugh a bit. And then I'm like, just to keep things on time, this is what we're going to do. If someone's up here speaking, you're going to 5 minutes, you're going to 2 minutes, you get a 1 minute. Right. And then I made some joke about, and if I get down after 1 minute, I'm getting the vaudeville cane and we're hooking you off. Again, you have a little laughter with it. And then what happened was, throughout the day, we ran on time completely, but everyone who was up there, they said, oh, Sanjay's giving me the 5 minutes. Gotta wrap this up.
But you're so intimidating. You're so intimidating.
I would often flex when I hold the 5 minute sign.
Yeah.
It helps. But again, because it was established and people understood what was happening and it was done in a fun way, it was easy to do. And again, if people buy into it, they'll police themselves.
Yeah. Guys, we have 3 minutes left. I just want to, say if there's anything, final comments.
And I have an announcement to make about our next show, but we'll take a minute or so.
I did want to tell Carol that Southwest no longer makes you line up for
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They haven't changed it yet.
Oh, they're changing it.
They're changing it, yeah.
You're actually going to be able to pick your seat beforehand, which sounds to me like every other airline. So
yeah, they're also going to start charging for bags, but anyway.
Yeah, they also had their first not profitable quarter in a million years. So that's why they're, shaking things up.
Yeah. Well, so now we just have a couple of minutes left, and I do want to say that the next time that we get together will be, Mike, this is your department. What is the exact date next time?
April 16th.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Sanjay. April 16th. And we have a special guest host, and this is going to be a repeat appearance from Anna Wildman. And Anna is in the audience today. So hello, Anna. And we're looking forward to seeing you on the screen in a couple of weeks. And
I'm not going to see you, Anna. I'm so sad.
Oh, you'll have to watch the video, Mike.
Saskatoon.
Yeah.
We promise not to make fun of you too much.
So if you remember, Anna was with us probably, a year ago or more, perhaps. She is the principal of a company in the UK called Oil in the Engine, and she is the author of Now You're Talking, the Manager's Complete Handbook to Leading Great Conversations at Work. even the tough ones. And Anna and I have been in touch over the last year or so, and she has some great new material and some new formats and some new ways of providing that. And so we're going to get back together with Anna, cover some of the new kinds of conversations, and it's always a delight to speak with her. And we'll learn a little bit more about how to have those conversations that nobody really wants to have, but we know we have to have them.
I missed Anna the first time, so I'm very excited to.
Okay.
I
great.
will be
As
here.
Anna says she's delighted to cover any specific tough conversations to help folks. Thank you, Anna. We appreciate your spirit on that.
Maybe she could talk about the way we talk to each other.
I think she could probably offer us a lot of help.
And so
That
Oh,
would be a difficult conversation.
There you
that
go,
would
too
be
difficult.
difficult, very
Very
difficult
difficult.
conversation.
Too
Too
difficult.
She
difficult.
knows her
Too
limits.
difficult, Anna says. Yeah.
exactly.
Oh,
I do want to put, if I can, I want to put a plug in for something that we haven't plugged in a long time. And that is, we love to have our participants be part of our guest host agenda. And if you
as we're going to do in 2 weeks. Yes.
that's right. Any desire to do what Anna's doing, we would love to have you, more so than just having a random guest. So please.
And I believe it counts as community service. So
Yeah.
Right.
Jerry said count him in. So
Oh,
okay.
Jerry would be a great guest. Yeah, we definitely need to do that.
All right, we're going to do that, Jerry. We'll reach out to you. Anything else, guys, to wrap up?
I got nothing.
I think this
Given the
has been a
sunshine.
very good meeting, and we will have an AI summary of it, and we can and see how well we did.
Richard, when do we see everybody?
Well, specifically April 16th.
No,
In general, we'll see you every other Wednesday.
Every other
right,
Wednesday.
guys.
Thank you
Okay,
all.
bye,
Thank you all.
everyone. Again,
all.
thanks so much for being here.
Be safe. Happy
Bye.
meetings.
Bye.